Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for taking time to watch this video. We're actually sitting outside today because it's a really nice day and we needed a little sunshine and time away from the OR. We wanted to talk about money and compensation for your work as an RNFA. So this presentation is entitled Show Me the Money. And although this can sometimes be an uncomfortable subject to discuss, it's important and it's a bit nuanced for RNFAs. So please feel free to share your opinions and your experiences. And although we try to get the most accurate information possible, if there's any thing that you want to add or you think is incorrect, please let us know. So averages and statistics. First, we wanted to let you know that like most professions, there's a broad salary range for RNFAs. However, since this is a specialty in nursing and it requires a minimum of 2 years of experience and some additional specialty training, RNFAs can expect to be compensated above the average nursing rate in their institution. And we wanted to briefly review some of the common factors that would affect RNFA salary. So some of the common factors we see are the region of practice. That's where in the country you're practicing. We practice in the United States, so we're in the Northeast. So where in the country you're practicing, typically the Northeast and California have a little bit of a higher salary range than some other states, but there's so much variation, so do a little research on your specific area, and then you can always reach out and ask us any questions and maybe we can help you get some answers. Next is the years of experience that you have. Typically, the more experience you have as an RNFA, and that would lead to better technical skills, and the easier it is for you to negotiate a higher salary. So, in short, the greater the experience, generally the higher your pay. Then we have APRN versus RN designation. This comes into play when we're talking about reimbursement from insurance companies and Medicare and Medicaid. In some instances, as RNFA as opposed to APRN RNFA, there'll be differences in compensation, and in some states, RNFAs cannot bill private insurance companies and they can't bill Medicare. So we'll talk about that a little further in another slide, but that's definitely something to keep in mind. Finally, the size and the type of employing institution that you're working in can impact your earnings. So generally, institutions with higher acuity level and larger volume of surgical cases tend to pay a little more. And that makes sense because with the added stress and demand for competency that you'll need, you can expect to be reimbursed fairly for that. So next we got some average salary range, and we got that from the internet, salary.com. This is data from 2022. This is easy to look up if you can Google it. And the approximate average annual salary range is between $84,000 and $125,000 annually. And let's not forget to factor in benefits when considering compensation. So if you're working for a large health institution, as I do, I work for a large hospital system, we get insurance that covers physical and mental health benefits, retirement, tuition reimbursement, a flexible spending account, life insurance, disability insurance, and the list goes on. And so make sure that you're considering your benefits package as part of your compensation and you're factoring that into the equation as well. So next we wanted to talk about what are the various ways RNFAs get paid. And there is some variation in this. So you're going to have to know how you're getting paid for your services. And one important thing to know is who is paying you. So is your pay coming from a hospital or a surgery center? Are you billing Medicaid, Medicare, a private insurance company, a physician's private practice? You need to know where your pay is going to come from, and that's really important because in some instances you may need to use the services of billing companies to receive your reimbursement. Also, we're going to go into more detail on this, So one way that RNFAs get paid is as staff, and they would get paid a salary or an hourly pay. And generally, you see this working at a large health system in a hospital or a surgery center. And this could apply to APRNs or RNFAs. And the pros to going this route is you have a steady stream of income. Generally, there's good benefits packages tied to the position. You establish great friendships and mentorships because you're working with a lot of other employees at these institutions. And there is some lateral and upward mobility within these health systems. So you can go into a position of management if that interests you, or you could become a lead as an RNFA. Some of the cons are you're going to always have that employer-employee relationship. You are going to be the employee, and the health system or the surgery center or the private practice that you're working for, they're going to be your employer. So you're not going to be your own boss. With this also comes income caps because you're going to be either salary or hourly. So whereas if you're setting your own prices or you're doing many cases, you could charge a little more, and we'll go into that in another slide. The next thing is you want to make sure that you're factoring in whether you're going to be working salary or hourly. If you work salary, you may be working a lot of hours and not be compensated for it. I'm not going to recommend either way. I personally prefer to work hourly as opposed to salary because you could be stuck in the operating room for a very, very long time in some cases. And so the next route that you can take is through private reimbursement, and usually this is seen through private insurance companies and sometimes through physicians' private practices. And the pros to this are you could do this as an APRN or an RN, although it's not an option for RNFAs in every state. But the pro to this is it's like very empowering. So this is your own business and it can be extremely lucrative. You set your limits in this situation. You also will have to use a medical billing, or you don't have to, but I would recommend use a medical billing or an accounting service to help you receive your reimbursements because you're going to be having to use billing codes to properly get reimbursed. The con to this is you have to make sure that you have very good liability insurance. Although you should have liability insurance no matter what position you're in this situation you need to make sure you have very good liability insurance, and we're going to do a separate video on insurance. And as I mentioned before, this isn't a good option for RNFAs with the RN designation in all states because in some states RNFAs cannot bill private insurance companies if they just have an RN license. So you need to check with your state board of nursing, and we can try and field any questions that you have, but make sure you're keeping that in mind when it comes to reimbursement through private insurance companies. So the next thing we wanted to talk about is reimbursement through government entities, and in this we really broke it down into Medicaid and Medicare. So I just wanted to briefly review the differences between Medicaid and Medicare. Let's talk about Medicaid first. Medicaid is state specific. It's a joint program between the states and the federal government, and it helps cover medical costs for people that qualify based on guidelines, and those are based on like income and resources. So the federal government has general rules that all states' Medicaid programs follow, but each state runs its own program independently. Medicaid reimburses for APRN, RNFA services in just about every state, but it does not reimburse for RNFA services in every state, so you have to check with the state. Medicare is a federal government program, and Medicare is usually for people 65 or older, and some people with certain disabilities and conditions, they qualify with being under 65. Regardless of your state of residency, if you are a RN with an RNFA certification, you will not be reimbursed under Medicare. So cases that you do that surgeons are billing through Medicare, a lot of RNFAs that with the RN designation will do those cases pro bono. As an APRN with the RNFA designation, you are eligible for reimbursement, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Here we just wanted to list some independent billing states. So here's a list of different states that have some sort of independent billing clause for RNFA services. If you're an APRN and an RNFA, you can bill in every state. But as RNFA, not every state recognizes your license as an advanced practice. So this is a list of some, and if we've left any out, please let us know in the comments. Okay, now we just wanted to give some final thoughts and sum things up. So to sum up, in this video, we introduced viewers to different ways RNFAs can be compensated, and we tried to help explain the wide variation in the pay between one RNFA and another. Pay for RNFAs can be extremely nuanced, so I'm sure there'll be a ton of questions. If you have questions, let us know. But we believe that becoming an RNFA is a great way to be advanced practice in nursing without necessarily having to go back for an additional degree. So please share your thoughts and let us know. We also want to know what else you'd like to learn, so please leave that information in the comments. Thank you.